So in this chapter, Swayambhuva Manu and his wife Shatarupa, so they both submitted their prayer in front of their father Brahma. And then Brahma, after being pleased by their obedient and submissive behavior, so he is giving instructions. So then he first appreciated his Swayambhuva Manu's obedient quality of obedience. And then in this verse, because Swayambhuva Manu had asked the question that, please tell us what we are supposed to do. Please enlighten us about the duties which they can perform according to their own capacity. So here even Swayambhuva Manu is also very clear that duties, each and every individual being performs his duties according to his capacity. That's why there are different varnas and different ashramas. There is no one single guiding principle for all the humanity. So each one's capacity, each one's competence is different. So that's what he requested. Please tell us what we are supposed to do according to our own best of our capacity. So now here in this verse, Brahma is giving the direct and the supreme instructions to his son, Swayambhuva Manu. So here Brahmaji is saying, yeṣāṁ tuṣṭo bhagavān. So what is the duty of a person is to tuṣṭo bhagavān, is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yajña-liṅgo janārdana. And that in the second line, so Bhagavan is being further described as yajña-liṅgo. Yajña-liṅga means the form to accept all the results of sacrifice. Linga means a form. We mentioned Shiva is in the form, Linga Rupa. So that means he accepts the form of Linga. He has different form, manifestations, but one of the famous is Linga Rupa. So here Linga means form, a manifestation. So yajña-liṅgo, so he is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice, and also is glorified as janārdanaḥ. So Janārdana, Purport in the word meaning translates as Lord Kṛṣṇa or the viṣṇu-tattva. He is referring to Lord viṣṇu-tattva category of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then so the duty of human being is to tuṣṭa bhagavān, is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice, whatever activities according to the capacity the human being performs. So the benefactor or the person to whom all the sacrifices are performed is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then teṣāṁ śramo apārthāya. So if the Lord is not satisfied by our activities, teṣāṁ śramo apārthāya ātmā nādṛtaḥ svayam. So adruta means respected or pleased. So adruta means not pleased. So if the Supreme Lord is not pleased by our whatever activity according to our capacity we are performing, what it is? Śramo apārthāya. It's a useless hard labor. So if he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile. He is the ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interests. So it's apārthāya. So it's artha means some profit, benefit. So anartha means there is no benefit. It's a useless activity, useless hard labor. So that's what Brahmaji is giving a direct and also the supreme instruction a son can receive from his father. So Brahma is giving here, so to Swayambhuva Manu. So in the Purport, Prabhupada mentions that Brahma is the head of the supreme head of the universal affairs. He is the first created living being, Prajapati. That's why he is known as great grandfather. So then he in turn deputes Manu and others as charges of the affairs of the material manifestation. So then Manu is obedient son. So he is appointing him as the in charge of some of the activities of the universal affairs. So this is the process. But in this entire activity is meant for satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, bhagavān tuṣṭaḥ. So generally, like in the previous couple of verses, we have discussed about the relationship between son and father, or how ideal it should be. So every father wants his son to inherit his property, he to take over his business, his empire, his whatever activities he's doing. So that's a natural. But here Brahma also is doing the same thing. He's appointing his son Manu and handing over some of the charges of the universal affairs. But what is the important point is that in the material world, a person works for sense gratification, but whereas here Brahma is actually giving instructions that all the activities, whatever Swayambhu Manu is going to do, is supposed to do, all should be made for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, rest all activities is actually useless hard labor. So in the Bhagavatam, very famous verse, Dharma Svanusita Pumsha Vishvakshena Kathashuyaha Na Utpadayat Yadiratim Shrama Evahi Kevalam. So the occupational activities of a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless hard labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. Shrama Evahi Na Utpadayat. Utpada means production or something which is generated. So na utpadayat yadi ratim. Ratim means attachment. Attachment for the Supreme Lord, if it is not arisen, if it is not produced, then it's a useless hard labor. So here in the Purport further mentions, Brahma knows how to satisfy the Lord, and similarly persons engaged in the line of Brahma's plan of activities also know how to satisfy the Lord. So the Lord is satisfied by the process of devotional service consisting of the ninefold process of hearing, chanting, shravanam, kirtanam, smaranam, padasevanam, so like that. So it is in one's own self-interest to execute prescribed devotional service, and anyone who neglects this process neglects his own self-interest. So everyone's self-interest, according to like the Varnashrama Dharma, very clearly it is mentioned that this entire material world, Brahma, when he created, it's very clear in his mind that it is not meant for the enjoyment of the living entities, because they cannot enjoy here. It's a dukhalayam and ashashvatam. So it's very clear that he has to provide a chance for the living entities to revive their lost relationships. So now that revival process has to begin. So that's the Brahma's main intention. That is what the devotional service of Brahma actually. So providing a facility for the living entities to revive their relationship. So now why that revival? Because we have forgotten. So when a living entity forgets, so there are three important activities every human being should understand. Every civilized being, Aryan, should be hankering for. What is that? First one is that, who am I? Second, who is the Supreme Lord? And third is that, what is the relationship between me and the Supreme Lord? So these are the basic questions. Aham Brahmasmi. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. The first principle of Brahma Jigyasa starts from this principle, who am I? So we have forgotten that basic thing, who am I? We are thinking here as, with the different upadhis, designations. I'm an husband, I'm a son, I'm a human being, I'm animal, I'm the devata. So different upadhis in this world we are considering. So because we have forgotten that basic question, who am I? So this entire material world, this entire creation, what exercise we are going through, it's all basically the exercise to give that chance, platform for the living entities to come to that consciousness where they will think, who am I? Why am I suffering like this? Where can I find that place where there is no suffering? So that facility Brahmaji is trying to create so that living entities can awaken. So in the process of awakening the living entities, so Vedic literatures, they very clearly have given instructions. So like Vedas, the Karmakanda portions. So the Karmakanda portions are also part of the Vedas. They are also Vedas, obviously they're transcendental literature. So in the transcendental literature, there is a portion known as Karmakanda where living entities, gradual evolution process is mentioned. Then second part comes about that also another process of self, reviving the consciousness. Varnashrama Dharma prescribes another set of activities. So Varnashrama basically suggests, according to your capacity, According to your consciousness, you perform certain activities. But Varnashrama is so scientifically designed that by following the rules and regulations meant for particular class, they can advance. So not only Brahmanas, even Shudras also can go back to Godhead. That's the beauty of Varnashrama system. That's why it is known as very scientifically designed. So in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that yajñarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. So here, like it is mentioned, yajña-liṅgo. So Krishna is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice. So that again Bhagavad Gita very clearly mentions, 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga. So then if all the activities a person performs should be meant for the satisfaction of the Lord. Otherwise what happens? Tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samacharaha. Otherwise what happens? That activity will bind him. So that becomes implication. But if it is done for the satisfaction of the Lord, that becomes a means for his liberation. Otherwise it becomes implication. So in the Varnashrama, what a person is supposed to do. Say there are 4 spiritual orders, there are 4 social orders. So in the 4 spiritual orders, it is mentioned that what a Brahmana is supposed to do. So Brahmana is supposed to be engaged in yajan, patan, patan, dhana pratigrahi. So by reading, by studying, and as well as by teaching, he is doing his part of service to the society. And Brahmana doesn't work, he doesn't earn money, he doesn't take salary from anyone. That is the quality of a Brahmana. So it doesn't, then how he will survive himself? There are other classes. They are meant to protect the Brahmanas. They are meant to feed the Brahmanas. Then Kshatriya's duty is to protection, administration. So they are not engaged in much of studying the Vedas or teaching the Vedas. No, that is not their recommended activity, prescribed duty. Then Vaishyas. So Vaishyas, they contribute to the society in the form of doing trading. And because they are engaged in the trading activity, they are supposed to do charity. So they do charity to whom? They do charity to Brahmanas, and they also take care of the next generation. They are known as Shudras. So Shudra means persons, those who are not so intelligent. They are not interested in reading the Vedas, Vedic literatures. They are not having such quality to protect someone. They are not having that intelligence to be engaged in the administrative affairs. And they cannot do business also, because business is not everyone's cup of tea. So the persons with that particular some intelligence only can be engaged in the business activities. That is Vaishyas to be. So these persons, so if you compare in the Varnashrama society, this 4th class, this is the most populated category. So, but what they are supposed to say, suppose in a factory, take an example of a factory. So, in factory maybe 5,000 employees may be working. So, there will be only one GM. Under him some, 4 or 5 managers. Under them some 10, 15 supervisors will be there. But rest all is what? Labor category. So, but the perverted understanding this Varnashrama system has brought the concept of caste system, but Varnashrama in the perfect understanding as recommended, because Varnashrama is actually is the system which was set by Lord Kṛṣṇa himself. Varnashrama acharata purushena parapuman viṣṇur āradyata panta. That's what Padma Purana says. That Varnashrama is not something meant for this perverted caste system. So why it is not a perverted caste system? Because Varnashrama, even though the Shudras numbers are so huge, and they cannot be engaged in any, neither they are intelligent, nor they are so strong enough to give protection, nor they have that kind of business capabilities. But still, just by following, what is that? Paricharyayatmakam. So they have to just serve the other 3 societies, other 3 categories. By doing that very obediently, even Shudras can go back to Godhead within his own life. It's not that they have to take birth in some other varna, then only they can go back. No, even from that Shudra also they can go back to Godhead, but provided they are so obedient. They are following the instructions of the Brahmanas, helping the Kshatriyas and helping the Vaishyas. So that's what here is mentioned, that one should perform his devotional in his prescribed duty according to his own capacity. So because, and when it comes to devotional service, third category, first one is that karma kanda, where there are different prescribed, different fruitive activities. And when it comes to varnashrama, it's in, but when third category comes is devotional service. So devotional service is transcendental. And the beauty of devotional service is that any category, whether it is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra or Vaishya or Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha or Sannyasi, anyone can perform the devotional service. And even in devotional service, when, say, suppose in our community, which Prabhupada has established, so all kinds of, devotees will come. So by doing their service perfectly, they can go back to Godhead. That's where Prabhupada says, there is no difference between a pujari, one is doing arati, a devotee who is going and collecting and bringing Lakshmi for the Lord service, and a devotee one who is engaged in cleaning the temple. There is no difference. It's all absolute. So just by doing the cleaning service very menially, very obediently, very sincerely, a devotee can go back to Godhead. So when it comes to the four, we discussed about four ashramas. So then in the there are spiritual orders. So in the social order also, it is not enforcing everyone that one should become after practicing brahmachari, one should take up grihastha life, after that vanaprastha, after the sannyasa. No, it is not common for all. So all these four activities are meant only for brahmanas. Brahmanas are supposed to undergo very strict brahmacharya training. After that, if they wish, they can get into the grihastha life. If not, they can continue. Then, if they have become grihastha, then they have to retire from the family affair, from the responsibilities. They have to take up varnashram, vanaprastha, and then they are recommended to take sannyasa. And in the sannyasa stage, they are told to preach. They are told to propagate the message of Krishna consciousness. But this is not the same for Kshatriya. For a Kshatriya, there is no recommendation that he has to become a sannyasi. For Kshatriya, brahmachari, grihastha and vanaprastha. Like in the case of many kings, like Bharat Maharaj or Rishabhadev. So when their sons, when they came to when the proper time came, so they renounced their kingdom. They left everything. They made his son or someone else as the in charge, and they left for their self-realization. They did not take such like Pandavas. So when the time came, when they understood that it's the time for Kali Yuga to enter, and it is their time to finish their material business. So they made Parikshit Maharaj as the king, and they left. They started their journey. So for a Kshatriya, sannyasa is not a compulsory recommendation. Then for a Shudra only for a Vaishya, there are only two. Brahmacharya and then Grihastha ashrama. Even Varnashrama is not recommended for them. And for a Shudra, so there is no strict rules as such. There is no even Brahmacharya for them. Why? Because they don't know the value of that life. So by going through this, the list, we can understand that how the statement of Shastra that Kalo Shudra Samrama is very much applicable in this present age. So Shudras means generally they don't undergo any kind of purificatory sanskaras or purificatory processes. So that's why Kali Yuga is known as Kalo Shudra Sambha. Almost all the population is actually Shudras. They don't know the concept of Brahmacharya. They don't know the concept of ideal Grihastha ashrama. So their life is only meant for sense enjoyment, sense gratification. So by following this very strictly, this thing, we can actually one can come to the stage of self-realization. So that's what Manu has asked. Please tell us according to our capacity what we are supposed to do. And Brahmaji here is instructing. Further in the Purport, Prabhupada mentions that it is in one's own self-interest to execute prescribed devotional service. Here Prabhupada is mentioning prescribed devotional service because, like Prabhupada mentioned, in the devotional service there are ninefold process of hearing, chanting. So one has to perform the prescribed by doing one of the activities among the nine angas of the devotional service. One can go back to Godhead. So that's why Prabhupada is mentioning prescribed devotional service. And anyone who neglects this process neglects his own self-interest. Everyone wants to satisfy the senses, but above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is intelligence, and above the intelligence is individual self. So here, what Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, the 3rd chapter, the hierarchy of the senses, mind, intelligence. That Prabhupada is quoting that. So most of the populace, especially in this Kali Yuga, their main interest is sense enjoyment. They cannot think much beyond the senses, just like animals. Why there is no sinful activity for an animal? Say like a tiger. If we are eating meat, that's one of the sinful activity. One of the 4 pillars of dharma for a human being. But whereas for an animal, there is no sinful activity. Every day it is killing some number of animals. In his lifetime, it would have killed so many animals. That means there is no chance for that animal to progress further to the different species of life. No, there is no sinful activity. Why? Because they don't know. Their only interest, they know only about their senses. If it is hungry, it goes and kills an animal. If it is feeling sleepy, it will go and sleep. But human beings are not supposed to be doing only those activities. Human beings are meant for something. They are meant for something higher cause. This human life is meant for an higher cause. That's what that hierarchy Krishna mentions here. So it starts with Arjuna's Krishna's conversation in the 3rd chapter towards the end, where Arjuna asks a question that atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannamapi varshneya bhaladiva niyojitaha. So Arjuna is asking, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So the concept of sinful life comes only in the human beings. So as human beings, like Arjuna is asking right question, that why one is impelled to perform sinful acts, even though unwillingly, as if forced. So Krishna is asking very famous statement that kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapna vidyeniha vairinaha. It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born in contact with material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So the root cause of all the sinful activities, lust. So then further Krishna says that he gives analogy of how lust is manifested in this world. So Krishna gives 3 different analogies. As fire covered by smoke, mirror is covered by lust, and the embryo is covered by the womb. Similarly, the living entity is covered by different degrees of this lust. So when the mirror is covered by the lust, you will not be able to see the object properly, our own face properly. Similarly, when the lust is covering the consciousness of the living entity, so you will not be able to think, who am I? And that lust also is covered by different degrees. The thickness of the lust varies from person to person. Then further Krishna says, man's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Then further Krishna says, the sitting places of lust is that senses, mind and intelligence. These are the 3 sitting places of the lust. So after this, Krishna comes to the explanation which is there in this purport, which Prabhupada is quoting here, that the working senses are superior to dull matter. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe parasastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning, that all the living entities, they just want to enjoy the senses. They don't know something beyond that. There is something beyond that. What is that? The senses are superior to the dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. And intelligence is still higher than the mind. And the soul is even higher than the intelligence. So here Krishna refers to that senses, mind, intelligence and the supreme soul, the super soul. So but here in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning one step even above that. What Prabhupada is mentioning here, that above the individual self is the super self, and above even the super self is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, viṣṇu-tattva. So ātmā, Paramatma, and above the Paramatma is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa. So therefore, the primeval Lord, the cause of all causes, is Śrī Kṛṣṇa. So this is the hierarchy which Bhagavad Gita is mentioning and Prabhupada is quoting here. So living entity, when he understands this, just enjoying senses is not my prescribed duty. Who is Supreme Lord? And what is the relationship between me and Supreme Lord? When he comes to that understanding, then he can be known as a person who is interested in the progressive value of life. Otherwise, what happens? He will be simply engaged in all kinds of this activity. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that, how all the activities, when a person performs activity, where it should be guided. So Krishna tells, it's in the ninth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi yadashnashi yajjuhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform should be done as an offering unto me. So when a person does all these activities as an offering unto me, so what is actually, what will happen? So the person will attain the eternal peace. That's Prabhupada, that's explained in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada terms that as a peace formula. The whole world is looking for peace formula. United Nations is formed to establish peace in the world. So everyone wants peace. Anyone who wants any, distressful life, disturbed life. So peace formula. So what is that peace formula? So Krishna in the 5th canto, that's towards the end of the 5th canto, it is mentioned that what is the Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantirichyati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So this verse, in the purport of this verse, Prabhupada mentions, this is the universal peace formula. So how it is universal peace formula? A person, one who is working so hard, a country which is striving to increase its territory, its borders, that's the reason they attack other kingdoms. But when they understand that all these things, whatever we are doing, it is supposed to be for the pleasure of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Yet Sarvaloka, and Krishna is the Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So he is the owner of all the planets, not only the earthly planet, not only the country we are living, not only the state we are living. Then when they understand this, then easily they will be able to understand how we are so much entangled in the bodily concept of life. Because of that bodily concept of life only, we are differentiating one living entity from another, one human being from another. Suppose a person, if he goes to another country, say consider USA, and he happens to meet another Indian, he will feel so happy. Oh, you are from India. I am also from India. And by chance, if both of them are from same state, say Delhi. Oh, are you from Delhi? I am also from Delhi. If they happen to be from the same area, so and so area, say Connaught Place in Delhi. Oh, really? Connaught Place? They will become even more close. There may be few other persons from different states, but this person tends to more interact with him because he's from Connaught Place, because he has so many things to discuss, share. Oh, I studied from so and so school. Oh, I also know that. I used to go to that so and so playground, so and so shop. So that is what we are creating identities. That is known as so many upadhis. That's why the definition, the bhakti is that sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruttama. So one has to become free from all these upadhis. All these upadhis, I am Indian, I am Rajasthani, I am so and so, I am Brahmana, I am Kshatriya. We have to become free from all these. Even to consider that I am a Brahmana and I am a Sattva-guna, that's why it is mentioned that Sattva-guna is also not absolute Sattva-guna. It is tinged, it's contaminated. One has to rise even beyond Sattva Guna and go to Shuddha Sattva stage. So when person comes to this stage, then for him he will not mind that, why should I strive for increase my business? Why should I simply go and kill others just to increase my territory or border of the country? So Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So then he will really understand Krishna is the benefactor, Krishna is the owner. And then all my activities, all my endeavors should be directed towards satisfaction of the Krishna. So then when he comes to this stage, there is no anxiety. There is no fighting, there is no need of fighting. Then person will come to the stage of happiness. Gyatva mam shanti ruchyati. So by knowing this, by understanding this, he will come to a stage where he will be in eternal peace. Otherwise, he will be, whole life is meant for sense gratification, lording over other, trying to control, chasing behind the material prosperity, materialistic propensities. So here Brahma is giving instructions to his son, which is the supreme instruction, which is the ultimate instruction which a father should be giving to his son. Just like in another place it is mentioned that Pitana Sasyat, Shukadeva Goswami says, Pitana Sasyat means don't become father unless you are capable enough to liberate your offsprings or children. You are able to guide them and help them to get out of this material world. So otherwise you should not become father. So Brahma as an ideal father, because Brahmaji, like Prabhupada here in the Purport mentions that Brahma knows how to satisfy the Lord, and similarly, persons engaged in the line of Brahma's plan of activities also know how to satisfy the Lord. So Brahma, being a pure devotee of the Lord, he knows how to satisfy the Lord. And then whoever follows, like his sons are followers of Lord Brahma, so they will also know that how to satisfy the Lord. So how to satisfy the Lord? Just do those activities which will please the Supreme Lord, are as per the Vedic instructions. No other activities. So then automatically the Supreme Lord will be pleased. If the Supreme Lord will be pleased, then all our activities are grand success. All our endeavors will become success. Otherwise, all our endeavors will be futile. I'll stop here unless there are any questions or any comments. I'll stop here. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitaya Gaur Premanande.